Hi, I'm Tim Richards, author of the Exploring Jazz Piano books. This is the second clip relating to Volume 2 of the book. In this clip I'm going to demonstrate a range of 3- and 4-note shapes, rootless voicings for 2-5-1, cycle of dominant sevenths, altered dominants and turnarounds and so on. If you're serious about your playing, it's essential to become familiar with these voicings. They're used by all professional pianists. If you're new to rootless voicings, I strongly suggest reviewing clip number 5 from the Volume 1 series before embarking on the present clip. We'll start with dominant chords, since they have more variations than any other chord type. I'm assuming you already know ordinary 4-note dominant chords, and that you're familiar with all their inversions as well. One of the main characteristics of modern jazz piano is the trend to move away from shapes like those and play more rootless voicings. Generally, there are two families of rootless voicings. One has the third of the chord on the bottom and the other the seventh. Let's take the family with the third on the bottom, the first inversion family. We'll start with a standard C7 first inversion shape, the second shape we played earlier, but we're playing it now an octave lower. First of all, let's omit the fifth of the chord, leaving us with just 3, 7 and root. To turn this into a rootless voicing, move the root up a tone to become the ninth. So you're now playing a 3-note rootless voicing. Call it 3-7-9. The third and seventh of the chord cannot be changed, but the ninth is movable. Try flattening or raising the top note. There's C7 flat 9, and if we raise the ninth, we get C7 sharp 9. The second family can easily be accessed by playing a root position triad and moving the root down a tone. This gives you the classic 7-3-5 rootless voicing. So this 7-3-5 voicing can also have the top note flattened, C7 flat 5 or C7 sharp 5. Or we can raise it yet another semitone, and that gives us C13, so that's like a C7 chord with a sixth on top. So these are all 3-note rootless voicings. I'll now show you how you can integrate these dominant voicings into a 2-5-1 sequence using the most efficient voice leading. Because we're going around the cycle of fifths, voicings will alternate third and seventh on the bottom. So starting with a 7-3-5 shape on G minor 7, I'll play the bass line, the roots in the left hand. This is a way of playing the 2-5-1 in F. Note how the change from G minor to 7, 2 to 5, involves moving one note only. The seventh of the G minor falls by a semitone, becomes the third of the C7. On the right are two options with flat 9 or sharp 9 chords on the 5. These provide colour and chromaticism to the otherwise diatonic chord sequence. Because the notes D flat and E flat are not in the key of F major, try playing one or the other with on the 5 chord. Or, so they're alternatives, but you can also play both of them. Half a bar each. We'll now play the chords using the opposite voicings, starting with 3-7-9 on G minor. Here we go. The seventh falls to the third of the before, but this time it's in the middle of the voicing. Now the same chords with an alteration on the C7. This makes the top note descend in semitones. That always sounds cool. When first learning your rootless voicings, it's a good idea to play them in the right hand with the bass line in the left, so you can hear the complete sound of the chord. Several tracks in Volume 2 demonstrate this. I'm going to play the walking bass line given in dominant 7th workout number 2, track 16. This goes round a complete dominant 7th cycle, up a 4th in every bar, in 3-note shapes. We're starting on A7 with a 3-7-9 voicing, alternating with 7-3-6 for D7. The bass line uses roots and fifths only.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Many pianists add a 4th note to the rootless shapes, so that 3-7-9 becomes 3-5-7-9. So that's for a major 7th chord. You could also play 3-5-6-9 for a 6-9 chord. For a dominant chord, back to 3-5-7-9 with a flattened 7th. Again, you can put the 6th in that chord instead of the 5th. And if we raise the 5th and the 9th, we get what's called an altered chord. So 3 types of dominant, all of which are in this 3-5-7-9 family. For minor, have to flatten the 3rd. 3-5-7-9, or you could play 6-9, C minor 6-9. Staying in C, let's look at the shapes with the 7th on the bottom. First of all, C major 9. So we've added the 9th. Or we could play the 6 on the bottom instead of the 7th. Dominant chords, C9. Flattened 7th on the bottom with a 9th. We could add the 6th on top instead of the 5th, and we could have the raised 5th on top as well. Even better, raise the 9th as well, that makes it C7 altered. And finally, minor chords, C minor 9 or C minor 6-9. I'll now run through a cycle of dominant 7ths with 4-note rootless voicings in the right hand. So track 17, Bossa Nova comping number 2, on page 97, features a similar bass line to last time, but this time it's in a Latin feel. The right hand shapes alternate 3-6-7-9 for A7 with 7-9-3-6 for D. You also need to memorize the shapes and get used to playing them in the left hand, especially if you're playing with a bass player. Track 18, Dominant Bebop Scale Workout on page 99, features rootless 13th chords in the left hand round the dominant 7th cycle, with bebop scales in the right hand. I'm not going to talk about bebop scales in this clip, but the point is you can use this track to practice anything you like. If you silence the right hand channel, because the CD is stereo panned, you'll get bass and drums only to play along with.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're going to finish by looking briefly at turnarounds, usually the last two bars of a tune that send you back to the start for a repeat or an improvisation. The most common jazz turnaround is based on 1-6-2-5 chords. Applying the voicing principles I've demonstrated above, here's a few ways of playing this with rootless shapes. So a turnaround in F, sticking to the notes that belong to the key, otherwise known as diatonic. Now if I make those 4-note shapes, it could sound like this. All the chords in this example are diatonic. They don't contain any notes outside the key or scale of F. Many standards are based on this sequence, not just in the last two bars as a turnaround, but often in the main body of the tune itself. Blue Moon is a well-known example. I'm now going to play the same turnaround with the opposite shapes, starting with the 7th on the bottom of the F chord. First of all in 3 notes. And then adding a 4th note. If you're playing a blues, you can still play a 1-6-2-5 turnaround, but the chords are likely to be all dominant 7ths, the defining chord type in blues harmony. If you choose your shapes carefully, you can make them go down in semitones from the 2nd chord of the turnaround, D7, until you get back to F7, one of the iconic sounds of jazz piano. So here's a blues turnaround with dominant 7th chords. Or if I upgrade it to 4-note shapes, so here's a blues turnaround in F with 3-note voicings. Notice how those shapes go down from the D7 in semitones. I can do it in 4 notes as well by adding the 9th to the F chord. Again, they still go down in semitones. D7 altered becomes G13, becomes C7 altered, becomes F13. Playing these shapes in the right hand with a walking bass in the left hand is a timeless and essential accompaniment style. You'll notice I'm not playing all the chords on the beat as written. I'm mixing up on and off the beat chords. This is an important part of establishing a good groove. Track 31, Blues Turnaround Workout on page 165, gives you a variety of rhythms and walking bass lines to explore. The second half of the track transfers the chords to the left hand and suggests a range of approaches for improvising over them in the right. I hope you found this summary of Rootless Voicings useful. Maybe learn the shapes in the right hand first, with the bass line in the left hand, a really important accompaniment technique. Then, once you know the shapes, transfer them to the left hand and play them underneath your improvisation or melody. This is especially important when you're playing with a bass player. In clip number 5, we'll be looking at another technique of voicing chords where you split the notes between the hands, two-handed comping, really important style used by all professional pianists. However, the next clip refers to diminished chords and scales. Until then, have fun!